dir danken, dass wir ein weiteres Mal deinen Erlösungsplan studieren können.
We ask that you would please open our minds and hearts.
Und wir bitten, dass du unseren Verstand und unseren Herzen öffnest.
Help us that we would not only hear but also do.
Und hilft uns, Herr, dass wir nicht nur hören, sondern auch tun.
We would make this decision to serve you.
Dass wir die Entscheidung treffen werden, dir zu dienen.
And I just ask that you would please fill our lamps with your oil.
Und bitte, Herr, fülle unsere Lampen mit deinem Öl.
And I ask for blessing and thank you in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten um deinen Segen und danken dir in Jesu Namen. Amen.
The notes are in the livestream group.
So, Notizen sind in der Livestream erhältlich.
Right, and we want to look at a little bit at the parable of the 10 virgins this evening.
Und wir wollen das Gleichnis der 10 Jungfrauen anschauen heute Abend.
And I'm pretty convicted that we still understand it really superficially.
Und ich bin überführt, dass wir diese Gleichnis immer noch nur oberflächlich betrachten.
And yeah, today we want to rehearse some things and also add maybe some new thoughts.
Und heute wollen wir das, was wir verstehen, weiteres Mal übergehen und vielleicht ein oder der andere neue Gedanken hinzufügen.
So let's read this parable in Matthew 25.
So, lasst uns dieses Gleichnis in Matthäus 25 lesen.
We can start in verse 5 and we can just read down to verse 10.
Und wir fangen an in Vers 5 und lesen bis Vers 10.
And Maurice, you want to read this first?
3 verses.
No, just all of it. From 5 to 10.
It says, while the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye all to meet him. Then all the virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy it for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, verily I say unto you, I know you not.
Okay.
Vers 12 haben wir gelesen.
Alright, so, no problem. So let us now consider these verses.
So, lasst uns über diesen Versen nachsinnen.
Because in verse 6, when did the cry go forth?
Dann in Vers 6, wann ging das Schrei voran?
At midnight.
Okay. Mitternacht.
So, and when we read now the next quote, David, you want to read this?
Und wenn wir diese nächste Zitat lesen vom großen Kampf.
While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. In the summer of 1844, midway between the time when it had been first up, that the 2,300 days would end, in the autumn of the same year to which it was afterward found that they extended, the message was proclaimed in the very words of Scripture, behold, the bridegroom cometh.
Yes. Okay, so David, what does this white say? When was the cry first given?
So, was sagt Ellen White hier? Wann war das Ruf das erste Mal gegeben?
Yes, but what does she say here?
Was sagt sie hier?
Yes, in the summer of 1844, right?
Im Sommer von 1844.
And it says midway between the time when it had been first thought that he would come, right, which was April 19th.
Also genau in der Mitte von der Zeit, wo sie zuerst Mal gedacht habe, dass kommen war,
And
was
then
19. April war.
And then later when they actually found out that he would come, right?
Und dann später, 22. Oktober, wo sie gedacht haben, dass doch kommen wird.
And what was the midway of it?
Und was war der Mittelpunkt dessen?
21st of July.
Yes, 21st of July.
Der 21. Juli.
Which was yes, which was midnight, right?
Was Mitternacht war.
So and she says this was the first time when the cry was given.
Und sie sagt, das war das erste Mal, wo diesen Ruf gegeben worden ist.
So therefore, where should we locate, or where should verse 6 of the parable begin?
So, dementsprechend, wo soll Vers 6 von diesem Gleichnis anfangen?
Yes, right?
Also 21. Juli.
So I put it like this here, okay?
Also ich tue Vers 6 hier rein.
Because it begins here, but we understand what happened here at midnight cry.
Also es beginnt hier, aber was geschah hier am Mitternachtsruf?
Given with power.
And it was given now with power.
Also
Right?
der Ruf würde mit Kraft gegeben.
So did the virgins already awake here
Also war die Jungfrauen bereits hier wach
in July 21st?
am 21. Juli?
No, right?
Nein.
So verse 7 of the parable says, then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. This was right here. Right?
Vers 7 des Gleichnisses sagt, dass all diese Jungfrauen stunden auf und haben ihre Lampen
The key is
trimmt,
the key is then.
Bereit gemacht.
bereit gemacht.
The key word there is then.
Also der Schlüsselwort ist dann.
So because at midnight on July 21st they didn't do that.
Denn am Mitternacht, 21. Juli, das hatten sie nicht getan.
So even though it began to be given there, verse 7, which says then, which was a result of the cry being given, wasn't until August 15th.
So,
Ja.
obwohl die fingen an, diesen Ruf hier zu geben, in Vers 7 diesen Wort dann, also diesen Werk haben sie noch nicht getan, haben sie am 15. August getan.
It was 25 days, right?
25 Tage
In between.
dazwischen.
Okay, and and we know, according to Christ's Object Lessons 412,
Und wir wissen gemäß Christi Gleichnisse 412,
it says, it is in the crisis that characters revealed, when the earnest voice proclaimed at midnight, behold the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. And the sleeping virgins were aroused from their slumbers, it was seen who had made preparations for the event. And this is now, this is the crisis, right?
also das hier ist der Krise.
And this is when they awake, and now it's manifested who made preparation and who not.
Und hier wachen sie auf und es wird gesehen, wer Vorbereitung eingetroffen hat und wer auch nicht.
Oder?
A question,
Yes.
Eine Frage.
because I was thinking about these same things already once, and the point there where I didn't really get further is this verse 6 and 7 when it says then, right?
Also Verse 6 und 7, wo es dann sagt.
Mhm.
We have always this saying when and then.
Also es gibt immer dieses Aussage, die wir haben, wann und dann.
Mhm.
It says when at midnight the cry was made, then the virgins arose. So
Also wenn am Mitternacht der Ruf gegeben worden ist, dann haben sie Jungfrauen.
So the question that I asked
Aufgestanden.
myself is because we definitely can show in history that Sister White says the midnight cry was given in July 21st.
Also man kann auf jeden Fall in der Geschichte sehen, dass Ellen White sagt, dass am 21. Juli, dass der Mitternachtsruf gegeben worden ist.
But the question I asked myself is whether verse 6 is just referring to August 15th.
Aber die Frage, die ich stelle, ist, Vers 6 ist es nur in Bezug auf 15. August?
Because the question I had in my mind is how can we make these 2 points on the line? Because it says when this happened, cause and effect.
So, wie können wir diese Ursache und Wirkung, wenn dies geschieht und dann passiert das, sonst auf unserer Linie markieren?
So the only thought that I came is basically that maybe in Matthew 25 verse 6 it's speaking only about the crisis and
Und
mentioning.
der einzige Entschluss, zu dem ich kommen konnte, ist Matthäus 25, Vers 6, dass es vielleicht nur über 15. August spricht.
Okay.
As I understand it, the cry is a message.
So wie ich das verstehe, das Ruf ist eine Botschaft.
So the message, the same message was given at midnight, but it had no
Power.
effect.
Also derselbe Botschaft wurde am Mitternacht gegeben, aber es hat noch nicht seinen Effekt.
So the Sister White, she takes the verse 5 and she puts it at July 21st.
Also Ellen White nimmt Vers 5
Verse
und
6, you mean?
Vers 6, sorry. Yes.
Ellen White nimmt Vers 6 und markiert es hier am 21. Juli.
So she's not negating the fact that verse 7 is a result of verse 6.
Also sie ignoriert nicht den Fakt, dass Vers 7 ist ein Resultat von Vers 6.
But it's just showing this principle that first a message is given, but what is it that gives it the power? It's when the event comes true, that's where it gets
Also
power.
dieses Prinzip ist, dass eine Botschaft zuerst gegeben worden ist, aber wo es erst eintrifft, ist wo es erst Kraft erhält, ist wenn es eintrifft.
What causes them to pick up the lamps is the fact they now realize that message is true.
So was verursacht, dass sie ihre Lampen bereit machen und aufwachen, ist, dass sie feststellen, dass diese Botschaft, die gegeben worden ist, eben wahr ist.
Yes. And this we can, in a sense, consider as one way mark, right?
Und dies hier können wir als eine Wegmarke betrachten auch noch.
So, in a sense, this is the beginning of the way mark and that's the end of the way mark.
In diesem Sinne, dass das hier der Anfang und das der Ende derselben Wegmarke ist.
It's the same cry, the same message.
Derselbe Ruf, derselbe Botschaft.
Just gets added power here and yeah.
Es hat nur zusätzliche Kraft hier am Ende der Wegmarke.
Okay, so that's why I would think it's valid because Sister White, she sticks already verse 6 here at the beginning.
Deswegen denke ich mir, ist es gültig, denn Ellen White markiert Vers 6 hier am Anfang.
Okay, so can you go with that for now?
I mean, I'm not arguing that point. I just have this thing, and for me it seems like it says when this happened, immediately this happened, and in this illustration it's not the case. So I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. I think what you're saying is absolutely right. But it doesn't negate the fact that the same...
No, I'm not saying that the same message is there, but just in this illustration it says the cry was given and immediately this happened,
No,
right?
no, I agree with you. That's what the point I was making. The point is it says then.
Yes.
So verse 5, so verse 6 is perfectly fulfilled at August 15th.
Yes.
But the message that was the same cry starts to be given in July 20th.
Also Vers 6 ist perfekt erfüllt hier am 15. August, aber der Ruf wird erst hier angefangen gegeben zu werden.
No, but this time,
So that's why I marked also verse 6 this time span.
Also deswegen ist Vers 6 hier ausgedehnt, um das Gesamte einzunehmen.
Okay, so if everybody can follow, then we can go to the next quote.
Also wenn jeder soweit folgen kann, dann können wir zum nächsten Zitat
On
kommen.
the bottom of page 1.
Ganz unten auf Seite 1.
And Philip, you want to read this first, please? Speaks now also about the parable of the 10 virgins.
Er spricht auch über die Gleichnis der 10 Jungfrauen.
Two classes.
Yes.
The two classes of watchers represent the two classes who profess to be waiting for their Lord. They are called virgins because they profess a pure faith. By the lamps is represented the word of God. The psalmist says, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path." The oil is a symbol of the Holy Spirit, and thus the Spirit is represented in the prophecy of Zechariah.
Okay, and then she quotes Zechariah chapter 4. I just didn't copy it.
Also Ellen White zitiert Zechariah Kapitel 4 hier, aber es ist nichts in den Notizen.
Yeah, so she ties together the parable of the 10 virgins with Zechariah chapter 4.
Also Ellen White verbindet das Gleichnis der 10 Jungfrauen mit Zechariah 4
And what
zusammen.
is Zechariah chapter 4 speaking
Und
about?
worüber spricht Zechariah 4?
The oil.
Yes, the
Die
olive tree.
Zwei Ölbäume,
Right?
also
They
das
pour
Öl.
their oil into this lamp, right? Or
Die
the
gießen
candles.
ihrem Öl in diesen Leuchter hinein.
Okay, you want to continue, Philip?
From the two olive trees, the golden oil was emptied through the golden pipes into the bowl of the candlestick, and thence into the golden lamps that gave light to the sanctuary. So, from the holy ones that stand in God's presence, His Spirit is imparted with human instrumentalities, while consecrated to His service. The mission of the 290 ones is to communicate to God's people that heavenly grace, which alone can make His word a lamp to their feet and a light to the path. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says the Lord of hosts.
Alright, so what does it say here? It says
So was sagt es hier?
in the second paragraph,
Zweiter Absatz.
so first, where's Zechariah standing?
Wo
The line.
steht Zechariah auf unserer Linie?
At the midnight cry,
Am
right?
Mitternachruf.
Why? Because he
Wakes
Warum?
up.
wakes up.
Weil
Right?
er wacht auf.
So and he sees now this candlestick
Und er sieht dieses Leuchter
and the two anointed ones,
und
right?
die zwei Gesalbten.
Or the two, yeah.
Oder zwei Ölbäume.
So just write anointed ones.
So, ich schreibe hier Gesalbten. Die zwei Gesalbten.
One. Anointed one. Then you have the candlestick here.
Und dann hat man hier der Leuchter in der Mitte.
And they pour the oil into the candlestick,
Und die
right?
gießen ihren Öl in das Leuchter hinein.
Okay. And it says here in the quote,
Und in der Zitat sagt es weiter,
when we read the second sentence,
also der zweite Satz, lesen.
so from the holy ones that stand in God's presence, His Spirit is imparted to the human instrumentalities who are consecrated to His service. So, what is the candlestick representing,
So, was stellt der Leuchter dar?
according to...
Consecrated ones. the
Gemäß diesem
Yes.
church.
Zitat.
The true church.
Yes,
Also der
Okay.
wahre Gemeinde, diejenigen, die Gott geweiht sind.
so it's the church in... Is this still? No, blue one. Daniel, can you give me one? I think it's in the lowest couple. So you have the church, which is the consecrated human.
Also ist die Gemeinde, was die menschliche, Gott geweihte Instrumenten sei.
Okay, and they pour the oil, right, in here.
Und die gießen das Öl hier rein.
So, now let's continue. Let's go to the next quote.
Dann lasst uns zum nächsten Zitat kommen.
And Peter, you want to read this first?
Is it the next quote or paragraph?
Quote, will our brother...
Will our brethren bear in mind that we are living amid the perils of the last days? Read Revelation in connection with Daniel. Teach these things, let discourses be short, spiritual, elevated. Let the preacher be full of the word of the Lord. Let every man who entered the pulpit know that he has angels from heaven in his audience. And when these angels empty from themselves the golden oil of truth into the heart of him who is teaching the word, then the application of the truth will be a solemn, serious matter. The angel messengers will expel sin from the heart, unless the door of the heart is padlocked and Christ is refused admission. Christ will withdraw himself from those who persist in refusing the heavenly blessings that are so freely offered them.
Okay. So now she speaks about these angel messengers,
Also
right?
sie spricht über diese Engelbotschafter.
And what do they do?
Was tun sie?
They empty the oil into the messenger who shares the word.
Also die
Yes.
gießen deren
Okay.
Öl in die Botschafter, der Gottes Wort verkündet.
So it's these two anointed ones, right?
Diese zwei Gesalbten.
And they now pour the oil into the messenger,
Und die gießen ihrem Öl in der Botschafter.
and the messenger gives it to the rest of the congregation.
Und der
right?
Botschafter oder der Prediger gibt es der Rest der Versammlung.
So you have this order.
So, es gibt
Okay.
diese göttliche Ordnung.
So first the messenger,
Zuerst der Botschafter
and then the congregation.
und danach der Versammlung. Congregation.
All right. So, and when you receive the oil, what is it? What did we read?
Und wenn du das Öl erhältst, was ist das? Wie haben wir gelesen?
Does it?
It's the truth.
Yes, it's the truth. It's the heavenly grace,
Es
right?
ist die Wahrheit, es ist die himmlische Gnade.
So when you receive this oil, what does it represent?
So, wenn du das Öl erhältst, was stellt es dar?
mean, when you, yes, it's a combination of the divinity with humanity,
Also
right?
es stellt die Verbindung zwischen Göttlichkeit und der Menschlichkeit dar.
So, divinity, and what is it?
Bitte.
Sorry?
Also
Yes, it's a birth, right?
der Verbindung zwischen Göttlichkeit und der Menschlichkeit ist ein Geburt.
So right here we understand we have this birth marked.
Und wir verstehen, dass wir gerade hier diese Geburt markiert haben.
And when we go now to 1 John chapter 4,
Und in den Notizen 1. Johannes Kapitel 4,
this very same topic is picked up, right?
also dasselbe Thema, sorry, that you picked up.
Yeah, the very same topic is picked up of this combination of divinity and humanity.
Okay, es ist dasselbe Thema über die Göttlichkeit und Menschlichkeit.
And Daniel, bitte?
Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God. And every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is in the world.
Alright. So here we understand, right? You have the spirit or Christ coming in the flesh, right?
So hier verstehen wir, haben wir der Geist oder Christus, der kommt im Fleisch.
But then there's this other group that says he's not come in the flesh.
Aber dann gibt es diese andere Gruppe, die das verneinen, die sagen, dass er nicht im Fleisch gekommen ist.
Okay, but we understand that this order, right? First the messenger has this combination and then the congregation.
Aber wir verstehen diese Ordnung. Zuerst der Botschafter erhält diese Verbindung zwischen Göttlichkeit und Menschlichkeit und danach der Versammlung.
And who would be this messenger in the terms of the parable?
Und in Bezug auf der Gleichnis, wer wäre diese Botschafter sein? So the bride.
Yes, you would be the bride.
Also
Right?
das wäre der Stimme der Braut.
Let us just read in the next quote,
Also in der nächsten Zitat,
and we can just read to the middle where the bold-faced ends.
und wir lesen nur bis zur Mitte des Zitates, wo das Fettgedruckte zu Ende kommt.
And Susie, you want to read this for us?
Lingering near the bride's house are 10 young women robed in white. Each carries a lighted lamp and small flagon for oil. All are anxiously watching for the appearance of the bridegroom, but there is a delay. Hour after hour passes, watchers become weary and fall asleep. At midnight the cry is heard, behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Sleepers suddenly waking spring to their feet. They see the procession moving on, bright with torches and glad with music. They hear the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride.
Okay. So in this illustration, this would be here the bride, right?
So in dieser Darstellung, das wäre hier der Braut.
And the congregation would be the virgins, right?
Und die Versammlung wäre dann die Jungfrau.
That's the virgins. Alright. So let's read now the next quote.
Lass uns das nächste Zitat lesen.
Sandra, you want to read this first, please?
If we place ourselves in a position if we will not recognize the light God sends us or His messages to us, then we are in danger of sinning against the Holy Ghost.
Okay, let's stop here for a while. So what must we make sure?
Also, was müssen wir versichern?
Like Abraham, we recognize God's voice.
Exactly.
Also wie
Okay.
Abraham, wir sollen Gottes Stimme erkennen.
Okay. Because if we don't do it, what are we in danger to do?
Denn wenn wir das nicht tun, in welchen Gefahr stehen wir?
Commit the unpardonable sin.
Yes.
Also dass wir die unvergebliche Sünde begehen.
Okay. So, and where on our line is it that we can commit the unpardonable sin?
Und wo auf unserer Linie ist es, wo wir die unvergebliche Sünde begehen können?
The sin unto death.
Yes, exactly,
Das
right?
ist die Sünde bis aufs Tod.
Then this is here in this final test is this sin unto death, right?
Also in diese letzte Test ist diese Sünde bis aufs Tod.
Because it's the last message of warning, and if you reject it, yeah, there's no more grace for you.
Denn es ist der letzte Warnungsbotschaft und wenn du das verwirfst, dann gäbe es eben keine Gnade mehr für dich.
So what must we therefore make sure that what must we hear in this time?
So, was müssen wir versichern, was wir in dieser Zeit hören?
Brother Mark already mentioned it.
Bruder Mark hat es bereits erwähnt.
It says in Acts 3:19, repent ye, be converted, your sins may be blotted out when the times of refreshing come, and he shall send Jesus Christ, which before was preached unto you. If any man hear not
Yes.
this messenger, it says, I will require it of him.
Amen.
Apostelgeschichte 3,19. Tut Buße und bekehrt euch, damit eure Sünden ausgetilgt werden. Und dann geht es weiter und sagt, wer dieses Botschaft nicht hört, wo bist du was? If you don't hear?
Don't hear, I'll require it from
Ah,
you.
ja.
Okay.
Wer diese Botschaft nicht hörst, dann fordere ich das von deinem Hand.
And sorry, was also on the Mount Transfiguration, which is the same illustration, it says, hear ye him.
Yes.
Und auf der Berg der Verklärung, was derselbe Darstellung hier wäre, es sagt, hört ihm.
Yeah, so it is, how do you say it?
Imperative.
Imperative, yes. Okay.
So, es ist von allerwichtigster Bedeutung,
To hear God's voice here.
dass
Okay.
wir Gottes Stimme hier erkennen und hören.
So it's life and death.
So,
Okay.
es ist auf Leben und Tod.
And how are we to hear God's voice? Let's continue the quote.
Und wie sollen wir Gottes Stimme hören? Lasst uns weiter lesen.
So now we can continue this.
Then for us to turn and see if we can find some new thing that is done, that we can hang some of our doubts upon it and begin to question. The question is, has God sent the truth? Has God raised up these men to proclaim the truth? I say yes. God has sent men to bring us the truth that we should not have had unless God had sent somebody to bring it to us. God has let me have the light of what His Spirit is, and therefore I accept it. And I no more dare to lift my hand against these persons, because it would be against Jesus Christ, who is to be recognized as messengers.
Okay, thank you. So what must we also recognize?
So, was müssen wir auch erkennen? His messengers.
His messengers.
Also
ne?
die Botschaftern, die er gesandt hat.
Because you will hear God's voice through his messengers.
Denn du wirst Gottes Stimme durch seine Boten hören.
So it's now this model again, right?
Also das ist wieder dieses Modell hier.
So here at the midnight cry, the Lord will raise up some people, okay, who will be these messengers, who will be this bride.
So hier an der Mitternachtsruf, der Herr wird einige Leute aufbauen, die diese Botschafter sein werden, die Stimme des Brauts.
Yeah, and they will speak God's voice. Okay.
Und die werden Gottes Stimme sprechen.
So when we now go and we come back to this quote, but let's go now to Matthew 21.
Also wir werden auf diesen Zitat zurückkommen, aber vorerst gehen wir nach unten zu Matthäus 21.
And we must understand this has always been the controversy in the plan of salvation or in the prophetic history. Okay.
Wir müssen verstehen, dass das hier ist schon immer in der prophetischen Geschichte der Kontroverse gewesen.
All the time, people had to be able to distinguish whether the voice that they hear, whether it's the voice of man or whether it's the voice of God.
So in aller Zeiten, die Menschen müssen bestimmen, ob die Stimme, die sie hören, ist eben die Stimme Gottes oder eben nicht.
And it's the voice of God through man.
Und es ist immer die Stimme Gottes durch seine Gesandten, also durch Menschen.
So when we go to the reform lines,
Also wenn wir zu den Reformlinien kommen,
in the time of Christ, the time of the end was what?
zur Zeit Christi, Zeit des Endes war was?
Yes, was the birth, right?
Das Geburt Christi.
So, and then who was then raised up at the next waymark?
Und an der nächsten Wegmarke, wer würde aufgestellt?
John.
Yes, John,
Also
right?
Johannes.
So here is John marked,
So, hier markieren wir Johannes.
And he's the messenger that gives the midnight cry.
Und
Crying in the wilderness.
er
Yes,
ist
exactly.
der Botschafter, der diesen Mitternachtsruf gibt. Er hat in die Wüste gerufen.
And he speaks God's voice.
Und
Okay?
er spricht Gottes Stimme.
So those that didn't recognize John and thought he was just a man,
Also diejenigen, die Johannes nicht erkannt haben und dachten, dass er nur ein Mensch sei,
what didn't they receive?
was haben sie nicht erhalten?
Christ.
God's voice,
God's voice, yes.
also Gottes Stimme.
And what did John do with the people that accepted his message?
Und was hat Johannes getan mit denjenigen, die seine Botschaft
Yes.
erhielten?
Yeah, he baptized them.
Er hat sie getauft.
So therefore, if you don't receive this message of John, what don't you receive?
So, wenn du diese Botschaft von Johannes nicht erhältst, was erhältst du nicht?
Yes, this birth, right?
Also du erhältst nicht dieses Geburt.
So let's read now Matthew 21.
So, lass uns Matthäus 21 lesen
Let's read verse 25.
und Vers 25.
This is when the Jews challenged Jesus' authority why he cleansed the temple.
Also die Juden haben die Autorität Christi in Frage gestellt, als er die Tempel gereinigt hatte.
Or maybe let's read also verse 24 and then verse 25.
Also Vers 24 und 25 lesen.
And Daniela, it's your turn.
And Jesus answered and said unto them, I also will ask you one thing, which if you tell me, I in likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, whence was it, from heaven or of man? And they reasoned with themselves, saying, if we shall say from heaven, he will say unto us, why did you not then believe him?
Okay. Alright, so this was already back then the question and typifies this question that will be given to us, okay?
Also das war damals die Frage, die gestellt worden ist und es schattet voraus das, was hier am Ende der Zeit, wo wir in Frage gestellt werden.
The Pharisees, they thought John was just a man speaking, okay?
Also die Pharisäer, die dachten, Johannes war nur ein Mann, der spricht.
And it always amazes me, okay, when you go to somebody and you show them from God's word what God's word says,
Und es erstaunt mich immer, wenn du zu Gottes Wort gehst und du zeigst Menschen, was Gottes Wort sagt.
and many think it's your ideas and it's just your words.
Und die Menschen erwidern, das sind nur deine Ideen und deine Worte.
Okay, but they don't understand the combination of divinity with humanity.
Aber die verstehen eben nicht diese Verbindung von Göttlichkeit und Menschlichkeit.
God uses people,
Gott benutzt Menschen.
and if they speak according to His word,
Und wenn sie gemäß Gottes Wort sprechen,
and you reject,
The oil is in.
yes, and you reject this testimony, you don't reject man, you reject God.
und du verwirfst dieses Zeugnis, du verwirfst nicht den Mensch, sondern Gott.
And this will be our test here, brethren.
Und das wäre denn unser Test hier sein.
Okay.
So there's a nice quote to confirm what you're saying. I just posted it.
Alright.
Also es gibt da ein Zitat, der bestätigt, was wir eben sagen, und das ist gerade in den Livestream gepostet worden.
You want to read this?
It says, that which the parable of the sower chiefly deals is the effect produced on the growth of the seed by the soil in which it is cast. By this parable, Christ was virtually saying to his hearers, it is not safe for you to stand as critics of my work or to indulge in disappointment because it does not meet your ideas. The question of greatest importance to you is, how do you treat my message? Upon your reception or rejection of it, your eternal destiny depends.
Exactly.
And also when the Pharisees asked Christ about his authority, what he was basically saying is saying, look, John's authority is directly from heaven, and if you answer that correctly, you've just answered my authority was also directly from heaven.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Want to translate this?
Oh yes, sorry. Also als die Pharisäer hier in Matthäus 21 die Autorität Christi in Frage gestellt hat Christus gesagt, wenn ihr diese Frage stellt, dann antworte ich eure Frage. Und der hat gesagt, wessen Autorität war Johannes? Und natürlich der Antwort war, dass Johannes, seine Autorität war von Himmel. Und das war auch der Antwort auf Christi Autorität, dass seine Autorität auch vom Himmel war.
Okay, so we must understand some of us who will be faithful in giving the midnight cry
So, wir müssen verstehen, dass einige von uns, die treu sind, indem dass sie die Mitternachtsruf geben,
this is not the voice of man any longer that you hear, but it's the voice of God.
das
Okay.
ist eben nicht länger die Stimme eines Menschen, die wir hören, sondern die Stimme Gottes.
And this is not to lift up any man, but it's what the Bible plainly teaches. Okay.
Und das sagen wir nicht, dass irgendein Mensch erhoben wird hier, sondern es ist nur das, was die Bibel klar lehrt.
And therefore, the Lord also needs to give us this foot washing in order to humble our pride. Okay.
Und deswegen muss der Herr uns diese Fußwaschung hier geben, um uns von Stolz zu reinigen.
Because we know that this sounds a little bit like what Jeff said. Okay.
Denn wir wissen, das hört sich ein bisschen so an wie das, was Jeff schon bereits gesagt hat.
But he was the voice of Satan, okay, but there's also the true, when you really have the truth in you, you speak forth the voice of God. Okay.
Er sprach die Stimme Satans, aber wenn es die Fälschung gibt, dann gibt es auch die wahre, also das Wahre. Und wenn du wirklich Gottes Wort sprichst, sorry, what did you say?
When you truly have the truth, then you speak forth God's word.
Okay. Wenn du wahrlich die Wahrheit hast, dann sprichst du Gottes Wort hervor.
Because it says you must hear God's voice.
Dann steht da, wir müssen Gottes Stimme erkennen und hören.
Okay, because when we go now to John chapter 10,
Denn wenn wir jetzt zu Johannes 10 gehen,
okay,
das ist ein bisschen weiter unten,
the parable of the Good Shepherd,
das Gleichnis der gute Hirte,
let's read verses 2 to 5.
die Verse 2 bis 5.
Brother Mark, you want to read this?
But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep.
Okay, so what do we have marked here?
Vers 2. Was markieren wir hier?
The door.
The door.
The
Okay,
door.
so we are right here at the midnight cry.
Wir sind
Right?
gerade hier am Mitternacht.
Okay.
To him the porter openeth, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but will flee from him, for they know not the voice of strangers.
All right. So you have a good shepherd here.
So, du gibt eine gute Hirte hier
And I would suggest it's the bride,
und
Okay.
ich würde vorschlagen, dass das der Braut ist.
because the angels come and pour the oil into the messenger's heart
Denn die
first,
Engel kommen zuerst und gießen ihr Öl in das Herz von der Botschafterin.
and the sheep are the congregation,
Und die Herde, das ist die Versammlung.
and they follow now Christ.
Und die folgen Christi jetzt.
And and what do?
Und was tun sie?
They hear God's voice.
Die
Okay.
hören Gottes Stimme.
But when they hear Satan's voice, what do?
Aber wenn sie Satans Stimme hören, was tun sie? They flee.
They flee away.
Die flüchten weg.
So there's also a righteous fleeing illustrated there.
Also es gibt eine gerechte Flüchten, die hier dargestellt
So,
wird.
flee from Satan, it's a good flee.
Also wenn du flüchtest von Satan, das ist ein gutes Flüchten.
Okay, so this will be our test right here at the midnight cry.
Das wäre unser Test hier gerade an der Mitternachtsruf.
Let's go now back to this quote above.
Also lasst uns zurück zu diesem Zitat, directly above John or the one before?
From 1888 materials.
Also wir gehen zurück zu diesem Zitat noch bevor Matthäus 21, das war von 1888er.
And
Wir haben
let's
das
read,
zweite Zitat noch nicht gelesen.
let's read 608.3.
Und wir lesen 608.3. Das ist noch unten auf Seite 2.
I think it's yours, Scott.
Now I want you to be careful, every one of you, what position you take, whether you enshroud yourselves in the clouds of unbelief because you see imperfections, you see a word or a little item perhaps that may take place, and judge them from that. You are to see what God is doing with them. You are to see whether God is working with them. And you are to acknowledge the Spirit of God that is revealed in them. And if you choose to resist it, you will be acting just as the Jews acted. You have all the light and all the evidences that they had. They rejected the light, notwithstanding the mighty miracles of God were there. Their hearts were so filled with prejudice that they said at last, "Oh, he does miracles by the power of Beelzebub, the prince of devils. That is how he does his miracles."
Okay, so we are not to reject the message just because of little imperfections in the messenger.
Also wir sollen die Botschaft bloß nicht verwerfen, nur weil wir kleine Unperfektionen sehen in der Botschaft.
And now in the next paragraph
Nächster Absatz.
it says, "Now, brethren, God wants us to take our position with the man that carries the lantern. We want to take our position where the light is and where God has given the trumpet a certain sound." Okay, so therefore the bride is this man with the lantern.
So, denn die Braut ist dieser Mann mit der Lanterne, ist ein Leuchter?
Oder Lanterne.
Also Laterne. Also diesen Mann mit den Laternen.
Okay, and the man with the lantern is this good shepherd, and he leadeth out the flock, and he speaks forth God's voice.
Also der Mann mit den Laternen, der ist der gute Hirte, der Gottes Stimme hervorspricht.
And we must follow this voice, we must follow this message.
Und wir müssen diese Stimme folgen, diese Botschaft müssen wir folgen.
And she says if we don't do it, we commit the sin against the Holy Spirit.
Und wenn wir es eben nicht tun, dann begehen wir die Sünde gegen den Heiligen Geist.
And that's why we are here in this classroom every day to make sure that we recognize God's voice right here at the midnight cry.
Und deswegen sind wir eben jeden Tag hier in dieser Klasse, dass wir eben Gottes Stimme am Mitternachtsruf erkennen.
Because if we don't, we will lose our salvation.
Denn wenn nicht, werden wir unsere Erlösung verlieren.
But if we do,
Aber wenn,
we will gain our salvation.
wir werden unsere Errettung oder unsere Erlösung gewinnen.
Okay, so everybody could follow so far?
Konnte jeder soweit folgen?
Yes? Okay. Alright, so now I just want to add a few last thoughts to it.
So ein paar Gedanken dazu fügen.
Let's go now down to page number 3, on the bottom of page 3 in the notes.
Lass uns ganz unten, nicht ganz unten auf Seite 3 gehen.
So, in a sense here you have the bride, and who would be, give me a other biblical illustration of the bride.
Also hier haben wir den Braut.
Yes.
Was ist eine andere biblische Darstellung
Mordecai,
von der Braut?
right?
Also Mordecai.
He gave the cry and then Esther, she followed.
Also Mordecai hat das Ruf gegeben und Esther ist es gefolgt.
She heard the voice of God.
Sie hat die Stimme Gottes gehört.
Okay, so Mordecai would be the bride.
Mordecai wäre denn das Braut, oder die Braut,
Esther would be this congregation.
und Esther die Versammlung.
Mordecai. And Esther the congregation. Just have it. No, doesn't matter. Okay. And but we understand, right, that also the lost sheep are still in the game.
Aber wir verstehen, dass die verlorenen Schafen sind immer noch im Spiel.
Okay, now let's go to Revelation 22, verse 17.
So Offenbarung 22 und Vers 17.
Let's read what it says here.
Und lasst uns lesen, was es hier sagt.
Because it's, where's John located?
Denn wo ist Johannes? Wo markieren wir Johannes?
In what sense?
Yes, but perfectly he's at the 9th hour, right?
Also auf perfekte Weise, Johannes ist an der 9. Stunde.
Yes, but so's Daniel, but they're both also at the time of the end where the message is being received.
Yes. I mean, I don't deny that he's also there, but I want to stick him first here at the 9th hour. And then
Ich möchte ihn hier an der 9. Stunde markieren. Also das verleugnen nicht, dass er da am Anfang auch ist.
okay, let's just read verse 17.
Also Vers 17 und Offenbarung 22.
And it says, "And the Spirit and the bride say, Come." So here we have the bride marked, right?
Also hier haben wir die Braut markiert.
"And let them that heareth say, Come." So who's the one that hear the voice of John?
The congregation. Also wer sind diejenigen, die die Stimme Johannes hören?
Let's go to Revelation chapter 2.
Also lasst uns in unserer Bibel Offenbarung 2 Aufschlagen.
And there's in verse 7.
Und in Vers 7.
It says, He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. Okay, it's these 7 churches that hear the voice of John,
Also
right?
diese 7 Gemeinden, die die Stimme Johannes hören.
So, and then it says in verse 17, in Revelation 22 again,
Und Offenbarung 22, Vers 17.
let him that is athirst come. And who was this?
Also derjenige, der dürstet, der soll auch kommen. Und wer war das?
Who was athirst?
Wer hat gedurstet? Samaritan woman.
Yeah, the Samaritan woman.
Also die
Right?
samaritische Frau.
So, I would suggest that John the Baptist is now standing here and he says, come. Okay.
Also ich würde vorschlagen, dass Johannes steht hier und sagt, komm.
And we understand the lost sheep and the Gentiles, they come here,
Die
right?
verlorenen Schafen und aber auch die ersten Heiden, die kommen hier rein.
And he's in this illustration, he's the bride to them.
Und in dieser Darstellung, Johannes ist der Braut für sie.
Okay. But who would be John in this illustration?
Aber wer wäre Johannes in dieser Darstellung? Dies. The messenger of the congregation.
Those that went who passed through this. Here.
Also diejenigen, die durch diesen Test hindurchgehen.
Okay, so if you pass through this here, you now become the messenger to them.
Also wenn du das hindurchgehst, erfolgreich, dann wirst du der Botschafter für die verlorenen
The
Schafe.
messenger is the bride. Okay.
Und die Botschafter ist die Braut.
So, and therefore, those lost sheep are in the Gentiles there, in the sense, the congregation.
Also diese verlorenen Schafen und den Heiden sind in diesem Sinne denn die Versammlung.
Yeah. But when you bring it here to the midnight cry, it's the same principle.
Aber wenn man es hier an der Mitternachtsrufe anwendet, ist es genau dasselbe Prinzip.
So you again have a bride and you have a congregation.
Es gibt eine Braut und eine Versammlung.
Okay, that's at least how I would understand it at the moment.
Zumindest so verstehe ich das im Moment.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Just making an argument. It's just because in Revelation 2,
Mhm.
it's, you know, it's talking to Smyrna and it tells them that they are to be in prison unto death, right?
Yes.
So we know that our message has to come to them before that point. That's why I make that argument, right? And in verse 11 it says, He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches.
Yes.
So when you read there is the Spirit and the bride say, right? So the bride is speaking. The Spirit is spoken by the bride, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's why I'm making this point, because in Revelation 22:17, there's like three times there, right? The Spirit, the bride say, come.
Yes.
That would be at the midnight cry. And let them that heareth in that time period say, come.
That would be the ninth hour.
That would be the ninth hour. And then the last group, right, they join them and they are given this last sort of call forward there to that, up to that time.
Yes. But isn't it that in a sense the bride says come, and when the lost sheep join in, they also join in the cry, right? And they.
Yeah, but that would be the last ones there on the list. Let him that is athirst come.
Which is the Gentiles, right? The Samaritan woman.
Okay. Yes, I have no problem. But the first one.
And they don't join in the cry anymore because they just come, but they don't say come. Right?
Yes, that's right. But the point is that the Spirit and the bride say come, that would be the first cry, right? And let him hear us say come, that would be at the ninth hour, right?
Also Offenbarung 22:17 ist es die Frage gestellt, also der Geist und der Braut sagen komm, und diejenigen, die hören, sagen komm, und diejenigen, die dursten, die kommen dazu.
No, I never said that. You're now changing what we just agreed that those that are thirst are the Gentiles, right?
I didn't disagree with that.
And remains the Gentiles. We're just dealing with those first two there.
I mean, the point is, right, that as I see it, it's the same concept as here, right? You have a bride and you have a congregation.
Also es ist dasselbe Konzept wie hier. Hier haben wir eine Braut und eine Versammlung.
Yes, and the bride also says at the midnight cry, come,
Und am
right,
Mitternachtsruf die Braut sagt, kommt
to the congregation.
zu der Versammlung.
But as I suggest is that John is standing here, he's now the bride in this illustration for them.
Also so wie ich das verstehe, Johannes steht hier und in dieser Darstellung, er ist jetzt die Braut für sie danach.
And John is all those that passed this test here.
Und
this.
Johannes sind all die, die diesen Test bestanden haben.
And he's now the bride here as those that, like Samuel Snow is a bride here.
Und der ist der Braut hier, genauso wie Samuel Snow hier der Braut.
I wouldn't argue that that's just the same principle, I wouldn't
Yes.
problem with that, but I'm talking about the actual verse itself.
Also
Why-
das ist
why would
derselbe
the verse
Prinzip.
be there at verse
Yeah,
9?
because John in Revelation is standing at the 9th hour, right?
Weil Johannes in der Offenbarung steht an der 9. Stunde.
In a perfect sense.
Maybe a thought.
Also ich habe mir Gedanken,
When it says the Spirit and the bride say come,
also wenn der Geist und der Braut sagt, kommt,
and in the end of the verse it says, and whosoever will, let him take the water of life freely.
und am Ende des Verses sagt, wer auch will, nimmt das Wasser des Lebens freilich.
So what they offer is the water of life.
So was angeboten ist, ist das Wasser des
So
Lebens.
when the bride says come, they need to have the living water,
Also wenn der Braut sagt, kommt, die müssen das lebendige Wasser haben.
which you in a perfect sense don't have till the 9th hour.
Was du im perfekten Sinne bis zur 9. Stunde nicht
Okay,
hast.
then I would argue that back and forth, no problem. So there's no cry given at August 15th then?
So, es gibt keinen Ruf am 15. August.
I mean, we're just speaking about this.
No, but I'm also making an argument.
Yeah, but there is a cry given, but the question is whether this is talking about it or not.
Okay, so the cry you're giving is not living water. I'm just making an argument that God
And
is
the living water comes
God
out
is-
of the
God
your
is
belly,
the,
right?
yeah, but God is the Alpha and Omega, beginning and end. If you have a birth at the beginning, right? Paul, for instance, right? This first birth there at the midnight cry. Paul, John, all of them, they all had that birth.
Also Johannes und Paulus, die hatten alle diese Geburt hier am Mitternachtsruf.
I mean, if you go
No,
into
just,
verse,
sorry,
no,
just
it
let
tells
me-
you in the chapter.
Okay, tell me one time, but I'm just making this point, right? I'm saying that all the apostles, all of them, all the prophets, they all had that first birth.
Also alle Aposteln, alle Propheten, die alle hatten diese erste Geburt.
The only people that have that second birth and in the world is alive is God's people at the end of the world. So you would have to say that nobody that was entered into the what's the word I'm looking for, the kingdom of grace at the cross ever gave anybody a living water. I'm just
Well,
making
they
that.
were just typifying, but in a true sense, no. Because living water comes out of your belly when your sins are blotted out. Christ was the only one who gave.
No, he is a holy mind, but through the Holy Spirit, you're still giving it. You know, that's
Yeah, I mean, if you look, for instance, right, Sister White also says things like Paul was directly taught by the Father,
yes.
but that can't also really be, right? Because there has to be a mediator between the Father and you. So it's just that these things are types, but not really perfect fulfillments in this way. And the reason why I'm saying, or I think the Revelation chapter 22 is at the end, is in the beginning of the chapter, it tells you where the living water comes from. And it's coming out of the throne, from this river, right, from the throne. And it says that it comes from between the tree of life, and that they have basically, you know, you have only access to this tree of life when you're in heaven, when you're part of the tree.
Yeah, but I'm not arguing that point. I totally agree with that. I'm just saying that it's, okay, it doesn't matter.
I mean,
If it comes to that, I will get to the point, we will
Alright.
discuss it at a later time.
So I would definitely say the principle is here that the bride also says come here and has living water also here. Yeah.
Also ich stimme zu, dass auf jeden Fall der Braut ist hier und hat auch lebendige Wasser hier.
Yes. At the moment I would place in the perfect sense verse 17 here, not denying that it also has an application.
Aber im perfekten
Hier
Sinne,
im
ich werde es
Principle.
Offenbarung 22, Vers 17 hier markieren, obwohl es auch eine Anwendung, also die Prinzipien eine Anwendung hier hat.
Okay, because I want to show you now that definitely the message of come is marked here also at the midnight cry.
Denn ich möchte auch zeigen, auf jeden Fall, dass die Botschaft kommt ist auch hier am Mitternachtsruf markiert.
Let's go to Matthew 22 and it's the final thoughts I want to share.
Das ist Matthäus 22, das werden dann die letzten Gedanken, die ich mitteilen will.
And speaking about the marriage supper,
Er spricht über die Abendmahl,
Hochzeitsmahl.
die Hochzeitsmahl. Danke.
Let's read verse 1 to 4.
Die Verse 1 bis 4,
Or actually down to verse 7.
also bis Vers 7, 1 bis 7.
I will read the first 3 and you can read the rest, please. And Jesus answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, The kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come.
Again he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage.
Okay, so here you see, right, the invitation is, come unto the marriage.
So hier können wir sehen, die Einladung ist, kommt zur Hochzeit.
And it's the second call.
Und das ist das zweite Ruf.
And you want to continue, please?
But they made light of it, and went their ways, and to his farm, and other to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, and entreated them spitefully, and slew them.
Okay, so when the second call is made, what do they do with the servants?
Also wenn der zweite Aufruf gegeben worden ist, was tun sie mit den Dienern?
Kill them.
They kill them. Okay,
Schlachten sie
So
oder
das-
töten sie.
here at the midnight cry.
Das ist hier am Mitternachtsruf.
And they say, come to the marriage supper.
Und die sagen, kommt zur Hochzeitsmahl.
And then in verse 7, the destruction of Jerusalem is marked.
Und dann im Vers 7 ist die Zerstörung Jerusalem markiert.
Now let's go to Luke 14.
Jetzt Lukas 14,
That's the similar parable of the great supper.
so dasselbe Gleichnis also von diesen Hochzeitsmahl.
Okay, let's read verse 16 and 17.
Die Verse 16 und 17 vorerst.
Then said he unto him, A certain man made a great supper and baked many, and sent his servants at supper time to say to them that were bidden, Come, for all things are now ready. Okay, so here again, the invitation is come,
So hier ein weiteres Mal, die Einladung ist, kommt,
because everything is ready.
denn alles ist vorbereitet.
And what do the people do?
Was tun die Menschen?
They
make
make
excuses.
Yes, they make these 3 excuses, right?
Die machen Ausreden, also diese 3 verschiedene Ausreden.
And all these worldly excuses.
All diese weltliche Ausreden.
And what is then the Lord saying? Let's read verse 21.
Was sagt der Herr dazu? Lasst uns Vers 21 lesen.
So that servant came and showed his Lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor and the maimed and the halt and the blind. So who's that?
Wer ist das?
Lost sheep.
Die verlorenen Schafe.
Right? So this would be then here, right?
Das wäre denn hier.
And then he says in verse 22,
Und im Vers 22 sagt er weiter.
And the servant said, Lord, it is done, as thou hast commanded, and yet there's room. So then you have, it is done.
Dann hat man hier, es ist getan oder es ist vollbracht.
And then it goes to the Gentiles, right?
Und dann geht es zu den Heiden.
Because the Lord then says, go to the highway and hedges and get the Gentiles.
Denn der Herr sagt, geht zum Highways,
Zu den Straßen und Straßen und Hecken oder so.
Straßen und Hecken.
Okay, so in this sense, you have illustrations of come here at midnight cry.
So in
Okay.
diesem Sinne hat man Darstellung von kommt hier am Mitternachtsruf.
And that's the call that the bride will do.
Und das ist der Ruf, die die Braut geben wird.
And you must recognize that it is God's voice.
Und wir müssen erkennen, dass das die Stimme des Herrn ist.
And it will come through man.
Und es wird durch Menschen zu uns kommen.
And if we don't recognize who John is, we will commit the unpardonable sin.
Und wenn wir nicht erkennen, wer Johannes ist, dann werden wir die unvergebliche Sünde begehen.
Alright, so everybody could follow?
Konnte jeder folgen?
Okay, then let's close for this evening.
Dann lasst uns für heute Abend schließen.